We got some stragglers tonight. Jeez. Nobody's here.
Nobody's here but the agency.
Yeah.
It's that commute, you know, Dave.
Yeah, that must be it. Gotta work on that.
We had people say they were going to be there, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's 6 confirmations.
Okay.
Lee would be the only exception.
John Matthew in over here.
There's Dave.
Hello, John.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Right on time at 7 o'clock.
Good for you. Gold star.
So
Bob's here.
show me a picture of it here. There.
Trying to do that without screwing it up.
So you're saying you don't know what those
John's here.
All right.
are.
Okay. So 1, 2,
One.
3. So we're just waiting for Joe.
Yes, just Joe.
All right. We'll give him a little under a minute. Well, do you think we can get started? Or should we?
Yeah, you have 5 members.
Okay.
Joe would be the 6th.
Okay. Well, I'll bet he'll show. But we have lots to get through tonight. Okay, so I'd like to start our Inland Wetlands Agency meeting for April on April 5th, 2021 at 7:02 p.m. Our first agenda item is a public hearing for 21-03 856 Boston Post Road. Although I hear that we may be continuing that, but the applicant can talk about this if they'd like.
Yes, please. Good evening, everybody. I had sent an email earlier to, by the way, it's Chris McKeon. I'm representing the applicant. If you recall, at our last meeting, we had been made aware of a potential additional area of wetlands that we had wanted to look into. We were provided with a report locating wetlands area to the southeast of our site on, I believe it was March 22nd. Additionally, there has been an intervener complaint in this hearing filed together with a couple of reports. And we have been actively looking into those, as well as doing our own review of all of the data. And we intend to be submitting additional reports, additional data, and additional plans. So since nobody, including me, have had the opportunity to review them, we expect to be filing them shortly. And that way we can all have all of the information available ahead of time so that we can wrap up the public hearing on the May 3rd meeting of the agency. And for those reasons, I'm requesting that the public hearing be continued to the May 3rd date, and our additional filings will be filed in accordance with your rules. In other words, in plenty of time before the May 3rd hearing. I would request that that the intervener also be required to file whatever documentation they intend to file within some reasonable time before the May 3rd hearing, so that everybody can be dealing with the same set of information when we do reconvene on May 3rd, and hopefully wrap up the public hearing and request a decision from the agency.
Okay. So I don't know, do we need to vote on continuing it? Is that a voting thing, or can we just?
Yeah, I would make a motion to continue it
Okay.
to May 3rd.
Would someone like to make a motion?
That's 2103, correct?
Yes.
Well, I'll make a motion that we extend project 2103 for the next meeting, to the next meeting.
Okay.
I would add to that at the applicant's request.
Yes. Okay. So we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? We have a motion to continue the public hearing at the applicant's request to our next meeting in May. No more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Me?
Aye.
Okay, that's great. And yes, for all concerned parties, it'd be great for all of us to be able to see the information in a timely way. That would be helpful. All right,
Good evening.
thank you. Right, so we can move on to.
Yeah, so Kayla,
application- Oh, wait.
if I could, sorry, I noticed there is several attendees on that have been interested in that particular agenda item. So just to reiterate, so we're not going to have any discussion about that agenda item tonight. That's the conclusion of our discussion about it. The next discussion at the wetlands meeting will be on our May 3rd meeting. So there'll be no further discussion tonight, just for clarification.
Okay. Yes, we are going to be done with 856 Boston Post Road until May. So we'll go on to our second agenda item, which is 21-05, 141 Opening Hill.
Kayla?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard from the applicant member of the team. They'd like to put this last on the agenda if, with your permission, if that, the presenter is going to be at a meeting in another municipality at 7. He should be here. You know, he doesn't want to come in late, you know, well, and miss the application. So if 2105 could be put off till last, you know, we can wait till he gets here.
Okay.
After 2113?
That's 2105.
No, I meant after.
Yeah, it was
After-
last
no.
on the agenda.
Yes. Or even,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, or after Texas, after 21-12, after all.
Or even even if it winds up being after the section 13 approval.
Okay.
If it has to go that late.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move this to the end. Okay. Wow. Moving right along on our agenda items. All right. Number 3, 21-07, 81 Liberty Street.
Good
Yeah.
evening. John Cunningham, owner of TEC Landscape Design. I'm the agent for Brian Jeremiah, 81 Liberty Street. We all had a site walk, and I think probably the easiest thing to do is to share my screen of the landscape plan so we can kind of review that, okay? Okay, everyone can see this? Okay. Just to familiarize or go back over it, we're proposing or would like to put in a swimming pool behind the house and a basketball court for his sons. One of his sons hopes to play D1 basketball. It's a lot of work to put the court in, but Brian's would really like to put it in. And with those two things going in, when we were at the site meeting, we made a suggestion that we'd like to remove that little bit of wetland area right there that we showed the members on the site walk. Everyone remembers it is on a slope, but it is full of invasives. So we'd like to remove that. And if that was allowed, we'd like to add a new area of wetlands. So we're proposing to remove about 300 square feet, return it to lawn. And we're proposing to add 1,500 square feet that's really attached to an existing wetland area that is on the property. And I don't know if Rich Sinarski is on tonight with me.
He
Yeah.
is.
He is on, there he is. If you'd like, Rich can chime in on how the new wetland area is going to be formed and what's going to be planted in there. Just to go over a couple other things on my plan, you see this slashed line, which we're calling a wetland buffer planting. And then you also see on my plant list, you see wetland shrubs. They are going to be used in the two areas that are surrounding the wetland areas. Rich, if you'd like to jump in with the creation of the wetland area, it's fine with me.
Yeah, the wetland creation area will be done with an excavator. The topsoil will be stripped and that will be taken down probably about 6 inches, and then the topsoil will be replaced. I'll be out there when it's done to make sure the hydrology is correct for a wetland. And then after that, it'll be planted with an abundant amount of native herbaceous wetland plants and also native shrubs. So it's going to have a high diversity of plant species, all native to Madison. And also part of the application is to eradicate the Japanese barberry throughout the property, and also the multiflora rose.
Yep. And we did, Rich, if I can interview, we did make a list of the invasive plants that are going to be removed from the property. It's underneath the plant list. And I did send a letter in, Kilo had asked for the species and the size of all the trees that will be removed. I sent that into John DeLaura.
Okay. Are there any more, are there any questions from the agency members? I'll start with one. And is there a lot of feedback? Okay. So this is for Rich. You're going to have wetland hydrology, but when we were out there, it's pretty shallow in some areas. Of course, we don't have a lot of water this year.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to, do you have a depth, target kind of average depth that you're looking for that particular area that you're going to be?
The wetlands have standing water other than just near the surface like the existing wetland, but it's probably going to be taking down about 6. It's going to vary, probably on average it would probably be around 6 inches lower, the wetland creation, to make it a wetland. Does that answer your question? I'm not.
Yes. It does. Are there other questions?
Well,
Anybody?
the area that's going to, the wetlands that's going to be taken away, how much extra is going to go on top of the elevation that it is now?
I can probably answer that, Rich. The existing wetland area is at about elevation 27, 28 to 26. It kind of moves down through the property. Our pool elevation will be about 34. So at the very beginning of it, it's probably going to be close to 34, maybe 33. And that slash line, remember, if you remember from the wetland walk, is going to be a slope, not 1-to-1, but a slope from existing lawn area down to existing elevation of the wetland area. And do remember, we're going to remove all the invasives in that area, and on the created area, what Rich talked about, and also our really buffer planting area, we are going to be removing all the root mass of the invasives also. Because we really like to remove all the invasives from the property. We're not going to drive into the wetland area or the rest of the remaining property, but the area where we are working, we're going to suggest removing the root mass.
Okay, one other thing we talked about at the site walk was a follow-up monitoring plan for the plantings and also particularly for the created wetland as well. I think typically, well, ideally, obviously you would check back in a year, and I think we talked about this, Rich, but I think it would be great a little longer as well, since you are actually putting in a new, if this is approved, you have a new wetland that you'd want to make sure is being created properly.
Sure. How many years would you like?
Lots. I think three. I think typically 3 is probably a minimum. That seems good when you read about in the literature about how plants can take and trying to figure out if a wetland, is keeping, a created wetland is acting as it should. I think 3 years is probably a good minimum. I don't know, but other agency members can chime in.
Could I make one suggestion, Camilla?
Yes.
That on a previous wetland application, we went to 3 years, and we allowed the wetland board to say if they wanted to extend it to 5 years, which we would do in this situation if our report or anything that the board saw that they wanted it to monitor it a little bit longer, we'd be open to saying we would gladly do it for another 2 years or so.
Well, I think that would be great. I think, having read a lot of this literature, that, the longer we can keep track of this to make sure it's functioning properly, the better. Other questions for the applicant? Very quiet. Did everybody eat so much candy? Okay, well, we have this application. This is our second time seeing it. We had the sidewalk. We have discussed there will be trees coming out. There'll be wetland being filled in, a border of invasives being taken out and replanted, and then a bigger created wetland with a suggested monitoring of 3 years with maybe an extension to 5.
Dave Newton, we're getting a little feedback from you. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if you have your on a little loud or what.
Okay.
You may just want to mute yourself when you're not talking. Yeah, that'll help us a little bit. Thanks. Sorry, Caleb.
Okay. I know the feedback was hard. So that was just a very quick review. So we've seen this. We've asked the applicant these questions. I've suggested that we add a monitoring program of 3 years with an additional perhaps 2 if we think we need it after 3 years. Are there any other questions or comments that we have for the applicant before we move on this application?
Well, I had a question on the timing. Is there a timing on the plans? You know, you didn't want to start too late because maybe it will affect the plantings in the wetlands.
I can answer that, Tom. If we're approved, we are going to move. Mr. Jeremiah was supposed to close on the house at the end of March. There's still a tenant living in the house, which is looking for a place to rent. But as soon as Mr. Jeremiah occupies the house, we would plan on starting the site work. Site work is probably a week to 10 days. As soon as the site was ready, the plant material would be installed. So we'd be really in the spring planting season.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the agency members? All right.
I was at the field walk, and I think it's a really good project. I'll make a motion. We approve application 2107 with the condition as stated by our chairman.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving application 21-07 as stated with our conditions?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We look forward to watching the creation of the wetland and seeing how that goes.
Thank you.
I was muted. Sorry. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. So we are on to
Kayla,
application. Yes.
excuse me. I see Joe is on now.
Yes.
You want to seat him?
He's not on audio though, John, as of right now, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
He said he
All
was
right.
having trouble connecting earlier, so he might be having trouble connecting to audio right now.
Thank you.
Well, whenever he's ready, we
Yeah, you
can.
can continue.
All right. So now we are moving on to application 20-27, 54 Bishop Lane.
And I just moved George Nowotny over to a panelist. So George, if you're on, you might need to unmute yourself and turn your video on. There you go.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi. So can you tell us about your project?
Absolutely. George Nowotny, I live at 110 Bradley Road. This is an application for my father's property at 54 Bishop Lane. It's nothing as interesting as a new development or basketball court or something like that. I wish I could bring you something a little more entertaining, but it's just to talk about some stumps. So there were 2 large trees on the property in a windstorm about 15 years ago that were pushed over, part of a straight line wind event. And I've cleaned them up on the upland part of the property, but there's two large stumps remaining at the edge of Hummer's Pond, essentially. So my proposal is I'd just like to get a backhoe in the upland area and push the stumps back over to where the trees were resting. And I don't know if John or Dave have a picture to show you, but that might explain a little more than my narrative.
George, did you submit a picture in your application? Because if so, I can pull that up.
Yes,
Okay,
should be a couple of photographs, Dave.
give me a minute.
Well, I can just say, I did notice those photos were taken in winter, so it's kind of hard to tell what it would look like what's in the path of this pushing of big stumps. Maybe when we see the pictures, you could explain.
Sure.
Can you guys see that first picture?
Mhm.
So George, if you want to just kind of guide me through, I'll just scroll down as you tell me.
Sure, sure. So this is what I'm going to call the south stump. There's a north and a south. This is probably a 24-inch diameter tree, and it was in this wind event. It was uprooted, literally, roots and all. They weren't broken off or anything like that at the time. My proposal is just to take a backhoe, push it back so that the roots go back into essentially the hole where they came out of years ago, or that same place. It's still attached at the bottom, at the very edge of the ground. So whatever is the commission's pleasure, I'd be happy to do that. Or I guess the other option is to remove it, which either could be done. I just figured that they came out of that wetland, and they can just as easily go back in there and live out the rest of their lives, if you will. And if you scroll down, Dave, there's the picture below this is just kind of a front-on picture. You can see the tennis court bubble behind, to give you an idea, and Hummer's Pond is just behind that stump. And then the following picture is what I'm going to call the north stump. This is a larger, probably a 30-inch diameter tree, something in that range. And again, large root ball that just was pushed over all at once, and just like to push it back into its resting place.
What's the terrain underneath the snow? Is it swampy, or is it grass, or what is it, firm?
It's the edge of the pond, so a little bit of it is wet, a little bit of it is land, and probably the very far end is the edge of the water. You can see the pink flags. Rich Snarsky came out and flagged it for me, so that pink flag in the right hand of the picture is the wetland boundary at that point.
And is there a particular reason is it just unsightly, or is it interfering with something? Is there a reason you want to do this?
Well, I was hoping to put 3 houses there. No, I'm just kidding. I think more than anything, it's a safety hazard. There's folks that come down there at times and either fish or try to put a kayak in or something, and these things are just kind of hanging in air at this point. So they're somewhat unsightly. I've tried to clean up in there a little bit, but more than anything, they're just kind of at a precarious position, and as they rot more and more, they're gonna that root mass is going to come forward at some point.
The north one looks like you could actually cut some more off of there. The south one, the tree looks like it's in the dirt, which make it more difficult. But when you take, you'll change the center of gravity of that root mass. If you, like on the north one, if you cut some of the stump off.
Sure, but I'm in the wetland, so here I am. I didn't want to do anything inside the wetland boundary without any kind of approval.
Right. And this is just so everyone realizes, this is receipt only tonight. So we'll talk about it and see it tonight, and then we will vote on this next month. And is this something, I guess, that you want to do? If you got approval, you would want to do this growing season, I assume?
Sure. Yeah, whatever the commission's pleasure is, if it were up to me, I'd take it out right away. But if there's a better time, we can discuss that as well.
Right, but so it's not taking out, right? You're just kind of pushing this back in.
Correct.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
I guess I'll leave it to the commission. If it's easier to come out, I can pull it out into the upland area and I'll chop it up and take care of it. I'd just rather push it back in. It's obviously easier and it leaves, I guess, a little more habitat or something. Something could potentially live in there and make a home.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, there's definitely no reason to pull it out. All right, are there any other questions for the applicant?
I would only make one comment. Not knowing what's under the snow there, whether it's soft and soggy, and when you start going in there with a backhoe and pushing against something that's relatively stable, you're going to dig up that area. And I would question whether you might want to put a pad in there to drive across before you do anything like that. But that's just a thought. I would hate to see I use backhoes a lot, and if you get up against something that doesn't move, you dig in pretty quick. So
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty firm. That upland area is pretty
Yeah.
firm, and I think it'll support a backhoe it shouldn't take very long. But I hear your points.
David?
Yeah.
Would it help you if George could take some photographs between now and the next meeting?
I'd like to go out and see it between now and next meeting if it's okay with George.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would too, actually. Just because, it would be interesting. It would be good to see exactly what's happening there. If that's okay.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
You
So
want
I
to
don't
set it
know.
up? You want to set it up as a site walk or just go as individuals?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, John, Delora?
I think I've been out there several times. It's pretty self-evident. I mean, if you want to do it as an organized site walk, we can.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think either way, you could go out individually and assess the situation and bring that to the next meeting.
I have no problem going out by myself.
Okay. Well, maybe that's easier given everyone's schedules.
Right.
So
Okay.
if that's okay with you, Mr. Nawatni, that would be great. If we can just take a peek.
Sure, yeah, have at it. You can park right on Bishop Lane there, and as John said, it's pretty obvious where these two stumps are.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion. We accept application. I'm in the dark here. Hold on. 2027.
Yep.
And schedule for the next meeting and recommend that we all individually go take a look at it.
Anybody want a second?
I'll
I'll second.
If there are only two of us besides you, give someone else a chance. Well,
So who?
no one
did
second,
someone
I'll second it.
Okay, great. All right, all in favor of accepting application 20-27?
All right.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. And great. So we've accepted you. We will see you next month, if not in between.
Thanks for your
you.
time.
Okay, so I see that we have Mike Ott. Is that Opening Hill?
Yes.
But are we keeping him to the end? Or is he gonna
You can keep.
jump in?
That's
Okay,
That's like, yes. Thank you.
okay. So Mike is gonna stay at the end. So now we will move on to application 21-09-1023 Boston Post Road. And
Well, I had an applicant, Chris McManus listed for this. Oh, okay. Let's see. Chuck is on for it. Chuck Mandel is getting moved over to be a panelist.
okay. And did we lost Joe? Joe is gone.
Yeah, it looks like he was having trouble connecting.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, good evening. My name's Chuck Mandel, agent for the applicant, Chris McManus. Originally, I had thought this could have gone into section 13. I guess there was a miscommunication between John and myself. The property is located just east of Madison Auto Body. It's a private residence right on the Boston Post Road. And the owner is going to convert it was a workshop into an accessory living unit. We did test pits with the Madison Health Department. Dave, can you bring that up on the screen, or?
Chuck, do you have it? It'd be easier if you could, because you can share if you can. If not, I can get it.
Yeah, no, actually, I do
Okay,
not.
yeah, let me just give me a minute.
I apologize with this part of the technology.
That's no problem.
Okay.
You just want me to pull up the site plan?
Yeah, that's fine.
So just tell me where to go, Chuck, and I'll.
Okay, so if you can zoom in on the smaller structure on the west side, Dave, and you can see the two blue tanks below. So from that point of the tank right there, the closest corner, it's 83.3 feet away from the nearest wetland. The dashed line between the structure and the wetlands is actually a driveway. So it's a paved structure all the way around, and this is entirely paved in here between the house and the other structure. The septic system itself is up much further south, right along the post road. There is a well, even though there's public water available, the house is on a private well, so they're not switching over to public water at this point. So what I was hoping was, since we have the distance of 83 feet, we have a driveway separating us. There's a wooded area and a fence. You can see that line with the little X's, that's a fence. So there's enough separating distance, I believe. It's really a de minimis effect, if any effect, on the wetlands. I don't know if it's too late to petition for a section 13, or we'll just continue it till next month. It's up to the commission, obviously.
so is it as flat as it looks? There's are there elevational issues here?
No, the tank and the septic, the pump pit and the septic tank are in a flat area. That's actually an island, a grass island. And then if you head to the northeast, I'm sorry, southeast, Dave, you scroll up.
This way or the other way?
No, that's the existing septic down there, which is right in the wetland area. So yeah, scroll down towards Post Road. Okay, so that's where we're proposing the new system. There is a slight slope up there, but there's plenty of travel time. There's well over 100 feet or more from the wetlands where the actual leach fields will be.
Okay, so it's the tank that's 83 feet. That's within the regulated activity area.
That is correct, and that is relevant. That is a flat area. That's all, and it's surrounded by a driveway and the structure. So it will be a tank and a pump pit.
And the health officer has already done his studies, and he has you have his approval?
Yes, this is an approved septic system.
And how many, I'm sorry, I should know this, how many bedrooms or how many bathrooms?
Actually, it's set up for one. It's set up for 2 bedrooms, but there's only going to be 1 bedroom in that dwelling. The minimum you can set it up for is 2 bedrooms.
So, John DeLaura, did you have any, you've probably seen the site. I know where it is. Did you have any concerns or issues
No, the only thing I thought was, if you look at the wetlands, it just ends at the property line.
Right.
Which is well above where the tanks are gonna go. So I really wasn't able to determine, where you see the wetlands, it just stops right there at the property line. Not sure
Right.
where, if it were to be continued, I'm sure it doesn't just follow the property line. I'm sure it meanders someplace. And I wasn't sure how close, if it did meander, how close would it have gotten to the two tanks? Because those are two 1,000, one's a pump chamber, I believe, and one is an actual tank. So there's going to be some disturbance there. I think that's probably the concern that I had was, did the agency have any reservations or any questions about, where that wetlands is? I think if you follow that wetlands right to the property line, it's probably a wee bit less than 83.3 feet, but just minimal. But I don't know where it went after the property line. I think that's
Okay.
Actually, Chuck Mandelian. Actually, at that point, John, it was probably an open ditch at one point, and right now it's closed. So there is a catch basin on the post road, and it bleeds off. And that's actually, if you can see the dashed line just above the wetlands line at the property line, that's actually a swale where the pipe drops into. So it's really almost surrounded. It almost continues like a bowl shape around that dashed line in there, right? But that's fine. I mean, you can certainly set a walk unless everyone is more comfortable. That's not an issue at all.
All right. So other questions, comments from the agency? Does anybody want to see the site or bump it to a section 13 or look at this application, revisit the plans and just look at it next month and vote on it then? Just receive it tonight? Those are kind of our three options right now. I'm going to send out espresso beans before meetings.
Kayla, I actually probably wouldn't have a problem doing it. If it were the desire of the agency to do it as a section 13, I would be comfortable doing it.
Okay, I get what you're saying. If you can't, if it's, with the wetland, dropping off or whatever, that obviously you want to know where the wetland is. But I haven't seen, not seeing it is kind of hard to envision, but it sounds like, it's in a grassy area and it's already has development around it. I guess you just want to minimize to the extent possible how much disturbance occurs.
We said we're surrounded by an island. That's a grass island the tank is in, and they'll go in, it's one day to put the tanks in and do the whole.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm okay with the section 13. I don't know about the other members. If maybe I'm missing something.
I have no problem with the section 13, providing, the health officer has done the adequate analysis and given his approval.
Okay. Anybody else? Bob, Tom, other John, Joe? Joe might be
There are
around.
pictures we could look at.
Well, we don't have to do, we don't have to do a section 13. It's already an application. So if we want to just receive it tonight and, we can look at Google Earth, you can probably drive by, it's on the Potsdam Post Road. If that's just the easiest thing to do, let's just receive it tonight and come back to it next month.
I feel a little more comfortable. I hate to put them through additional work, but I guess, my questions are, I'd like to see the shed and see the level of the tear down. And that's basically what's happening, right? Where the shed is actually being torn down in a 1-bedroom
Chuck
Oh.
Mandel, no, it's not. It's actually just being re-sided. The sheds thing is staying exactly where it is. They're putting new siding. and moving-
Okay, so the shed is just bringing in, is there water there already?
There is no water there. No, they're going to bring it from the house to the shed.
Got it. I see the line. Yeah, that's why I asked. So we're just remodeling it. We're not changing the footprint. I'm probably okay with a section 13 then. Subject to the fact that, we're not doing anything to the footprint of the house or what's going to be the house.
No, it's just the siding and windows.
Okay. And you're going to be excavating to bring the water line in, but that's on the other side and that's outside of our jurisdiction anyway. So it looks like, so I'm sorry, it's Bob. I'd almost like to drive by, but I don't see a lot of potential exposure to anything detrimental to the wetland, except for what Keola brought up, which is where does the wetland go? So once it goes past the property line, and I think if John's comfortable that he knows that it's, kind of tailing off or staying 80 feet away, then I think we're fine. That's my comments.
Any other comments? So-
I guess there's three of us that are in favor of section 13, so I'll make a motion. We allow John to look at it and make sure that it's in accord and pass it as a section 13.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Any other comment from others? All right, all in favor of moving application 21-09 1023 Boston Post Road to section 13?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Oh, not me. Put my hand down. Okay,
Thank you very
Great.
much. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, we are lickety split. So on to our next application, which is 21-1256 Tuxas Road.
I
Oh,
think,
and Joe.
yeah,
Joe's
Joe
on.
just joined us, so I think he just needs to unmute and put his video on.
And do we have the applicant for Tuxas?
We do. It's Chuck Mandel, agent for the
Oh,
applicant. I'm back.
Okay.
I never went anywhere. Then I'll leave it. So I'd like a section 13. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Just one tonight. Okay.
Take
So,
the one you got and run.
Yeah, believe me. So this is 56 Tuxas Road. The applicant, oh, thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Okay. So what the applicant is proposing is to remove the existing garage, which is pointed out. It's directly in front of the house right now, where the garage is. He wants to add a small addition to the front of his house in the gray. And then he also wants to put in a new garage, which is that gray area. It's, what does that say? Oh, 30 by 25 garage. The wetlands that are shown on the plan from the original subdivision, it's mostly all lawn in there right now. So this would warrant a walk. So I don't want to get into too much detail. He'll be removing the existing asphalt. We're going to have a proposed gravel driveway. And we'll also be, we have stone drains around the perimeter to pick up the stormwater for the 90% to capture the first inch. So that's basically it. There's an existing pool. Also in the back, you can see a distance of, what's that, 41.7 feet. There's an existing 3-season porch there. What he would like to do is put in a full foundation and put in a, I guess he's calling that a breakfast nook. So it's just going to be an expansion for a 4-season room for that. So for the walk, what I'll do is I'll stake out the garage corners and get those wetlands reflagged so you know what you're looking at.
Yeah, that would be great. And there's an easement right next to your property, your applicant's property. The Mass and Land Conservation Trust has an easement
Yes,
to
they
the
do.
south.
Yes. They do. It's actually, oh, I don't want to favor. There is that parcel there. I'll have to see who owns that. It says right away in favor of the land trust. I'll make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't been showing that as a parcel, as contiguous with our parcel, but well, certainly contiguous, but not as far as building setback goes and coverages. We didn't really include that at all.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think you're pretty close to wetland boundaries, so probably a great idea to
Yeah. Yep.
do a site walk. We can schedule that.
Okay.
But are there any other questions that anybody has before? I mean, we'll see this next month. We'll schedule a site walk. But if you have looked through this, if you have any questions that might help us think through things on the site walk, this would be a great time to ask Mr. Mandel.
No questions.
No questions, or not. It's very quiet tonight. That's okay. Okay. Well, if John, Delora, if you can help us schedule a site walk, that would be great.
Okay, Chuck,
Yes.
let's talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, among other things.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And do we need a
Anything.
motion to accept this? I think we do. Does someone want to make a motion to accept this, to receive this application?
I'll make a motion that we receive 21-12 56 Texas Road, receive and schedule a sidewalk.
I'll second that.
Yes. Okay. I think we've
Okay.
discussed this. All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Okay.
Thank you.
Great. We'll see you at some point. All right. So now we can go back to application 21-05, 141 Opening Hill Road. And we have to get my cot back or somebody.
Oh, I'm.
Oh, there you are. Are you
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening. For the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summerhill Civil Engineers in Madison. Can I? Looks like I can share my screen. Okay. Can the commission see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is, if you remember, this is property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Escobar at 141 Opening Hill Road, and they would like to construct a swimming pool and a patio and in a necessary retaining wall on the east side of their house. The parcel to the east and to the south of the lot is owned by the Madison Land Conservation Trust. I'm guessing it was the open space parcel that was part of this subdivision. That this is a Waveney Place, I think is the name of the subdivision, that created this lot in the mid 80s or so. Topography, if I zoom in, you might be able to see it, is sloping from the house to the east down to the property boundary and down to the wetland. And there's a good 10 foot of elevation change. There's elevation 95 up at the house at this corner and elevation 85 here in the mountains. So there's quite an elevation change here, and that's why the retaining wall is required. Does the commission have these drawings, or the agency? Do you guys have this drawing?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bear with me 1 second. So the proposal would be to install this geotextile silt fence and straw bale barrier, and that would also define the limits of work. There are a handful of trees within the limits of work here that would have to come down, and retaining wall would be constructed, and then the pool and the patio would be constructed. Wall is a reinforced earth segmental wall. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but there's a typical detail shown on sheet 2. The reason this type of wall was chosen is it doesn't take a lot of work to do the foundation of the wall. They actually come in with a mini excavator and excavate down about 3 feet, place about a foot thick crushed stone leveling pad, and then they start, after that, all the work is done by hand. They actually set these blocks and the geosynthetic reinforcement that goes into the backfill by hand. And when they get up high enough, they, from the upland side, they dump crushed stone behind the wall. They just keep building the wall up to its ultimate height. So that's the reason this type of wall was chosen. There's no concrete work, there's no excavation and work and steel reinforcement and concrete trucks and all of that. That's all eliminated. So the impact really is coming in with a mini excavator. This limit of work set of control barrier has been set 10 feet off of the face of the wall. So that should be plenty of room for them to work. And once they build the wall, restore this area, all the work will be up on the top side of the wall, down against the inner wetland anymore. I don't know if you can, I'm hearing another voice. I don't know if you guys can hear me okay?
Yes, but we hear the other voice.
Sounds like it went away.
Yeah.
So it's possible that at this time of the year, when they excavate down 3 feet to place that leveling course that I showed you, that they may have to dewater because they are down in elevation low and close to the wetland boundary. So if they do, there's details on the plans for in an area where dewatering wastewater would be pumped up here onto the lawn into a geosynthetic filter bag and allowed to infiltrate over the lawn and down into the wetland again. So if they have to dewater to put that leveling course in the first couple of courses of blocks, that's how they would dewater. Let me zoom out a little bit more. So the construction entrance, temporary construction entrance, you can see off of Opening Hill Road. The geosynthetic silt fence and straw bale barrier goes all the way out to the road. So it, again, defines the limits of work. There'll be no work on the east side or the right side of that barrier. I think that's it in a nutshell. This is the detail. I don't know if the agency members have seen these in use in the field. This is a big geosynthetic bag that the dewatering pump pumps sediment-laden water into. Are you guys familiar with these?
No.
So they're pretty commonly used. It's literally a big bag that gets put on. You either put it on a crushed stone bed or a straw bed, and you put it in an area that's relatively flat and an area where the water that comes out of the bag in a relative, will make its way back to a wetland area or watercourse area where it's gently sloped land and where it's far enough away from the wetland or watercourse so that the water can infiltrate into, has the opportunity to infiltrate into the ground. The sediment stays within the bag. Eventually, on this kind of project, this is such a short-term project that this will go away quickly, but in a longer-term project, they oftentimes have to stop and replace these bags. They have to move them to an upland area, cut them open, take the sediment out, and dispose of the bag. The sediment typically is spread somewhere in an upland area. So that's the method we've shown for dewatering, because again, it's quite likely, given the elevations, that they will have to dewater to construct the base again for that wall.
So what about the pool? So that's this. So right now we've just been talking about the retaining wall, but the pool. Is the pool going to? I know you're probably not putting the pool in, but I mean you personally. But aren't they going to have to dig down and probably hit water and do something similar as well?
No, because so what happens is, and maybe I didn't. I'm probably giving you too much of an overview here. What happens is, so here's what happens first. The sediment control barrier goes in, defines the limits of work. The handful of trees come down that are in this area. They strip off the topsoil because this is all lawn where the wall is going. They strip off the topsoil and that gets stockpiled in an upland area. Very little topsoil. And then they excavate down with a mini excavator, and the wall, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I'm going to trace the wall. This wall, this is the wall, and it goes back this way. The only place that they will have to potentially dewater is along this long length. And once they get up a couple courses, they can stop dewatering. And all that, once they dig the trench, put in the crushed stone leveling pad, and start their first courses of block, which are all done by hand, once they get up high enough, there's no more dewatering necessary. They'll build this wall all the way up to its final height. Then they'll come back, and from then on, when the wall is done, from then on, they will be excavating on the upland side of the wall, the high side of the wall. All the work will be up here. All this work will be done and this area will be restored. The pool isn't deep enough. The bottom of the pool doesn't go anywhere near down to an elevation where you'd have to dewater. The pool is a relatively shallow pool, and it's up around elevation 92 or so. And the highest elevation, as you can see, adjacent to the wetland is 88. So that when they excavate for this pool, they're not going to have to dewater again. And all of this work again takes place on the upland side of the wall, between the wall and the house. It's the wall construction that is the real, activity adjacent to and down at the elevation of the wetland, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Hey, Mike, it's Bob. What's the depth of the pool going to be?
Yeah, these kind of pools are 3.5 feet or so. It may go to 5 on one end, but
and what is the elevation of the deck or the decking going to be about approximately? Just, I don't need the exact, but like you're going from, it looks like 95 feet down to like 88 feet or so.
It'll be 92 when we're done, because there's it's 92 at the corner of this patio, so we're holding 92.
So if the pool's 5 feet deep, then you're talking about somewhere around 87, 86 at the deepest part of the pool excavation.
Right, which is, as you can see, here's 86 here, which is, not The reason I believe it's reasonable that they're gonna have to dewater for this wall is, let me go back, let me try to make it back to that detail, is you can read this, is this dimension here, this 3 feet, 2 feet plus 1 foot. So when you're down really close to the wetland elevation and you're excavating down 3 feet to get this leveling pad and these base blocks going, it's likely this time of year when you're adjacent to an inland wetland that you might have to dewater.
Hey, Mike,
That's the only reason.
how far away is the septic system?
Septic system is actually shown on our plan. We got the as-built from the health department, and it is, the septic tank is way over here, Tom. And the first closest leaching field run is here that I'm tracing.
I just wonder if the dewatering would be affected by it, by the nitrates or something.
This has got to be, let's see, if this is, it's quite, if that's 50 feet, Tom, this septic system has got to be over 100 feet from this inland wetland, or from this
Yeah,
area.
I was thinking of where they're going to dewater.
Yeah, it looks like it's about 100 feet or so, or more, or longer. Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
Hey,
it's
Mike,
Bob again.
Mike.
I have one last question, for me anyways. The pool's like perpendicular to the house, the rectangle of the house. Did any thought be given to possibly put it parallel to the house? And that way move it a little further away from the wetlands or not? And if there was a reason not to, if you could give me a little background on that would be great.
Yeah, I think I lost you there, Bob. Do you mean rotate the pool 90 degrees?
Yeah, well, not where it is now, but move it, see where the patio and the deck is?
Yeah.
Did you give any thought, or were the design thoughts ever looked into to maybe putting it there as opposed to where it is? Because it's closer, it obviously would be further away from the wetlands at that point.
Well, this is actually the only pinch point to Bob is right here, as you can see in this area. See how the wetland boundary is going away? This whole backyard is an even steeper slope than this area. Than this slope. It's actually even steep. We didn't do the topography all the way, but this is the whole backyard is a steep slope down to the wetland. And this, if you took this, it's hard to do, but if you took this whole area and turned it 90 degrees and put it here on this slope, you wouldn't be much further from this wetland if you really stare at it. You know what I mean? And this is a much steeper slope, and it'd be a much higher wall.
Gotcha.
This one, I didn't show you guys this, but if you look at the wall elevations, maybe you did look at this, but the reason these are on here, these are elevations of the 3 sections of wall. This is the long elevation, and what I'm showing here is that it's only down on this end where we're down deep. This slopes up towards Opening Hill Road, and you can see that I'll show you the difference in elevation. So the bottom of the footing is 82 on that end. That's another advantage to these walls. And on the opposite end, closest to Opening Hill Road, it's up another 3.5 feet. So the length that we actually are excavating down deep and probably would have to dewater is right in here. This is the end towards Opening Hill Road that was up. The bottom of the excavation is down at 85.5. This was 3.5 feet lower in elevation at 82, and that's the area closest to the wetland. So that's the advantage of building this wall. The footing, the base of the wall does not have to be level.
And how far, I'm sorry, I don't have my application. How far is your closest part to the wetland?
So this building setback line is 20 feet.
Okay,
The wall has to respect, because it's a structure, it has to respect the building setback line. I've got the base, just a little bit off the line. So this is that's probably 17, 16 feet right there at that pinch point, right here. That would be actually right here. That would be the closest point. And then as you can see, the wetland goes away. The wetland heads to the east. So right about here, maybe 16, 17 feet.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
how much material is being taken out of the, to provide the depths for the pool?
I don't know. Dave, I didn't.
What's gonna happen? Well, irregardless, what's gonna happen to it?
It goes off site just like every pool construction job.
Okay, I just
Or
wanted to,
I should say most construction jobs. So there's no, in this particular one, if you think about it, there's no grading outside the wall.
that's the right answer.
Yeah. So the wall, again, I think the important thing here is the real activity down at a low elevation and adjacent to the wetlands here
Mhm.
is the initial construction of the first few feet of the wall, height of the wall. And it's all after that little mini excavator comes in and trenches this, it's all done by hand. The wall is literally built by hand. All the backfill material is placed back here on the upland side of the wall. When it's all done, a machine would go back in this 10-foot width and regrade this area, and then it would be restored. It'd be topsoiled and all raked out, and it'll be restored.
So you say there's not a lot of fill left over after you dig the whole pool up?
Anything they excavate out, Dave, would have to be loaded directly in a truck.
Okay.
Hauled off site, because as you can see, there's no proposed grading on the downside of the wall, if you think about
Right.
it.
Right, no. I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that was what you were gonna say.
Yeah, the natural grades remain.
Okay,
The wall, in fact, I'll go back. The wall actually just fits right into the natural grade. Sorry, I'm not navigating very well, but here's a great example. So these dark lines are the finished grade along the face of the wall.
Yep.
So it's, as you can see, it's sloping because it is the same sloping line. If you were standing in the wetland facing the wall, you can see that from the left corner to the right corner, the ground is sloping up.
Yep.
And that when the wall is done, that ground will be at the same elevation it is today, sloping up along the face of the wall.
okay,
So more wall will be sticking out of the ground down here than up here.
okay. Thank you.
and is the wall, you said it's gonna be restored afterwards, so are you planting anything, or is there anything to plant after you're done with the wall?
Kayla, that's a good question. I did not specify how this would be restored. This is wooded in this 10 feet. There's a handful of trees in here, and it is wooded. But I think we could, if the agency was amenable, we could make it a condition of approval as to how that's restored. It is only 10 feet in width.
Right, but it's the closest to the wetland, and it's gonna be,
Yeah.
taken away and disturbed and put back, so there should be some kind of plan
Yeah.
for whatever's gonna happen there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, maybe it can be planted. We could get some advice from Rich Snarsky about what type of shrub plantings to place there.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And you're going to change the light environment because you're taking trees out. So it's wooded now, but you're taking some trees out. So you're going to open that up. You're going to open it up to invasives if,
Right.
when you disturb that. So it'd be better to have something specific in mind for how to plant that after construction.
Yeah, we could have Rich submit a recommendation to John, if that would be agreeable.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. All right, so this is we saw this last month, so now's the time for any more questions for Mike.
Mike, this
And
is
then-
Bob again. You said there's several trees coming out. How big are they, and how much disturbance will it be in the uplands from removal of all those trees?
Well, they vary in size, Bob. My recollection is maybe 6 inches to maybe 16 inches. There's probably 4 or 5, I believe. And we did not intend to pull the stumps. We just thought we would cut the stumps flush rather than disturb the ground there. The edge of the edge of the wall is actually right at the edge of the wood line. So the tree removal is simply, to be able to work. And that's why I limited this to 10 feet. You can see it's 10 feet. You can see it splits the 20-foot setback line, the 20-foot setback.
Yep, I see that.
Yep. So what we had thought, instead of pulling the stumps and pulling up the ground here, we thought we would just cut the stumps flush and be able to work. And then on the other side of the sediment barrier, which is the limit of work, nothing will be touched, and this is a heavily wooded wetland.
Okay, so any other comments or questions for the applicant? No.
I'll make a motion that
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we receive application 2105.
I'll second that.
It's not
with
for
the condition.
receipt.
Oh, I thought you
This
said.
is, no, we saw it last time,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
So this
you
is,
received it last month.
we
sorry.
received it last month, so for this month, we
I
are
make a
voting.
motion that we approve 21-05 with the condition that Rich Snarsky submits to John a plan outside the retaining wall that will keep the earth and terrain in place.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other more discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving application 21-05?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh, that was an aye. No opposed. Any abstaining? All right. Great. Well, thank you. And yes, it would be great for John to see. I think getting a nice planting plan in place would be really great along that retaining wall.
I agree. That is important. I should have thought of that, but I did not.
Well, that's what we're here for, to help
That's
you
what you're
out.
here for. That's right. Thank you. Rich will keep us straight, I'm sure, as you know.
Yes.
He'll do a
Yes.
good job. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for
All right, well-
rearranging the agenda too. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Excuse me.
Yes.
It's Marlene. Could you just repeat that vote? I have missed some words in it? The motion?
I seconded it.
I know
So-
who, Joseph moved to approve the application, that a plan outside, that a plan be submitted. I just need to know the wording about that.
Okay.
A planting plan
Planting
submitted by Rich Snarsky should be submitted to John DeLaura.
Okay,
To keep the terrain below the retaining wall for preserving the ground out there, something like that.
Sounds good.
thank you.
Tough one, the word.
Okay, we
Thanks.
did it. We got
Thank you.
through our most of the applications, but now we have our section 13, which
Thank
is
you.
21 dash, you're welcome. 21-04 Sterling Park Drive.
That was the one, I think, it might have been back in February, where, I think it was February, that you saw that as a receipt and then thought that I could do that as a section 13, which I did. It was noticed and the 15-day appeal period has passed. So that has been approved. That was that shed, small shed that was connected actually to the house. Rich Gentile, that's his project. So just to give you an update, that it was approved actually March 11th and has moved on.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. So the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. So we have regular meeting minutes from March 1st and the special meeting minutes from February 16th. That was our meeting with the town council, the town attorney. Hopefully you guys looked at them. I will start. I had a question on the regular meeting minutes. And I highlighted it for ease of, so this would be on page 1. It was, so it's on page 1 of the regular meeting minutes for March 1st. It's in the section for the public hearing. And it's like the first or second sentence down, and it says, I guess the sentence starts with Mr. McKeon asked that the public hearing be continued until the matter of these wetlands to the southeast be investigated to ensure that there's no significant impact on the wetlands to the southwest. But I was confused because I'm wondering if the southwest, if that should be southeast as well. Because he's asking for the hearing to be continued until, which is kind of still where we're at, obviously, because of the wetlands to the southeast. So I think that southwest should be swapped to southeast, if you guys see where that is.
Yeah,
But I'm
southwest
happy to have it.
is the ridge, the rock ridge.
Yeah, so there are, and those were flagged, and we knew about those. So we have the southwest wetlands. It was the ones that the owners to
Yeah.
the southeast. So
The new wetlands were definitely southeast.
right. So I
Yeah.
think that's what it means, is that
Yeah.
to the southeast be investigated to ensure that there's no significant impact on the wetlands to the southeast. I think, but it's not clear to me. So I guess I'm raising that also as a question, if it should be the southeast or it should be the southwest.
I think it's southeast.
Southeast.
Okay. That was, I think that was my only, well, I had another question. And I don't know, I don't think it matters, but it's on the second page near the top where it talks about the building roof area will be increasing, but then it says, but the subsurface infiltration system will accept all stormwater runoff from the driveway and the building roof areas. And it doesn't have an amount, but I think that in that second sentence where it says the first inch of runoff will be infiltrated, I just want to make sure that you guys agree. I think even though it doesn't say in the first sentence what the amount is, that second sentence does clarify that it's the first inch of runoff. Just want to make sure I'm reading that.
I
properly.
agree. That's what Mike said, the first inch.
Okay. All right.
He showed a catchment area within that big parking circle. And I
Right.
do believe it was taking roof runoff too.
Okay. That's what I
So-
thought. I just wanted to be clear.
So should I put the words?
No, you don't have,
Okay.
no, it's okay. Because you have it, I mean, you do have it there.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify to make sure I was reading it properly.
But on the first thing, I would change southwest to south.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that one matters a lot more.
All right.
Does anybody else have any comments on the set of minutes?
No, I would make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of March 1st, 2021.
As amended.
As amended.
I'll second.
Okay, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Abstentions? No. Okay. What about the second minutes from February 16th for the special meeting? I didn't find anything myself there,
Me either.
but I could have missed something. But so anybody have anything on that one?
No, I think they're worthy of a motion to approve.
Great.
Special meeting minutes for February 16th, 2021.
Great. So you've made a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay. All right, we've got a second. I think can sense we're not going to probably comment very much. There's a chance. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the special meeting of February 16th, 2021? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. No abstentions. Great. Got those approved. All right. Moving right along. Remarks in the wetlands, Chairman? No, I don't have any remarks. I'll be quiet. But in the wetlands officer?
Yeah, just to let you know that I issued 3 violation notices for cutting either in the upland or in a wetland. And those 3 hopefully would be heard, at the next meeting. There's been a cease and desist so there's no more work. They're just organizing their applications to the agency to explain what they were doing without permits. So that'll be fun.
Okay. That'll be fun because we'll have our public hearing as well. So you guys have to have coffee or tea or something for the next meeting. Everyone has to be like talking and asking questions.
Well,
I'll make
We'll
the
be here.
motion.
Tom's going to make a motion. Okay.
Let me close our inland wetlands meeting for today, the 5th of April.
Okay. So
20.
we've got a motion.
Yes.
I
Anyone
second.
wanna- Okay,
Woodrow.
great. Okay, great. All right. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Yay. Okay. Well, it's lovely to see you all. And